When history writes its book on wrestling, after the rocks fall and stones sink and the chair's no longer broken, many will be called champions. Only the real heroes will be hailed as legends. Legends of Wrestling on PlayStation 2, rated T for Teen, from Acclaim.
And now, introducing the hottest new tag team in podcasting, George Feast, Johnny Clash, the Game Mart.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Game Marks podcast. My name is George Feast, and I, as always, am here with my tag team partner, independent wrestler Johnny Clash.
Hey!
How are you, John?
I'm super. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, each week on this podcast, we break down the good, the bad, and the awesome of wrestling video games and give our rating of Play It Forever or Future Endeavor. This week on the podcast, we'll be playing Legends of Wrestling. But before we get into that, let's do a little wrap-up, a little follow-up from last week's episode, WCW Super Bowl.
Did you change your opinion at all during the week of this game?
Nope. What about you?
Okay, so the more I think about it, the more I watch our Clash at the Feast video, I want to like Super Brawl so bad.
Because you're a WCW
I know,
mark.
but then I think about us actually playing it, and it was so bad that I will never go back and play this game. But I want to.
There are so many other better WCW games that this was like a foundation of showing the groundwork of what is possible. Everything from Super Brawl is uphill. It's only uphill from there. So, did you see what got released on Steam within the last, 18 hours? By the time this comes out, maybe it's a week ago.
The Chikara video game.
Oh man, as we record, the game came out today, October 15th.
And we haven't gotten a chance to put our hands on this and play it yet, but I've watched some Twitch,
coming.
I've watched some YouTube. People are putting Jon Moxley, Darth Vader, The Undertaker.
With a lightsaber.
This is
not just Darth Vader, he's got a fucking lightsaber.
This looks like
he's got a freaking lightsaber.
This looks like a lot of fun, and we have to play this.
And like the physics of the game look insane. There's like flaming tables and stuff. It's wild. But this is cool. This is a massive game. I'm actually going to pull up all of the specs about the game now, so we could just do like a quick little overview of it, just to really let you know what's going on and what's coming up.
It's cool to see people that I've like shared a locker room with in a game.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, and you never know if people are feeling super creative and super antsy, you and I or our beloved GMP man may make a special appearance in this game. Who knows? So, quick overview. Key features. Stars of Chikara. Over 30 official wrestlers complete with their over-the-top lucha libre antics to faithfully represent Chikara Pro Wrestling, including Fire Ant, Solo Darling, Hollow Wicked, Dasher Hatfield, and much more. Retro gameplay action satisfaction. Intuitive 2-button controls allow players of all ages and skill to easily jump in to the arcade wrestling mayhem. So this sounds to me, and it looks like almost a more flushed out version of those classic NES style titles, but just with advanced graphics and maybe a little bit better capability in terms of like what you'll be able to do, but simple control layouts.
I think this is what we needed.
This is very intriguing. Like, I'm very excited. Like, I almost wish we didn't have something planned for next week so that we can do this. But next week, we'll get into what we're doing next week later. But it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm ready to put some time into this game and see what it's all about. I want those flaming tables.
Oh, yeah. Now, we've talked about how we both are online gamers. We've played everything from Madden to Fortnite and everything in between. And Chikara may be our newest adventure into the world of online gaming because there is a key feature where up to 10 players can jump into an online match.
Wow.
10!
Wow.
Let's see. That's me and you. That's the 3 guys from Off the Hop Rope. It's the Major Brothers. And then we still have 3 other people.
We don't know that many people. And we'd have to teach all of those people that you just named how to use a computer. So
that's unbelievable. Like, we need to make more friends with people that we can play this with. Let's try to put together like a giant tournament in Chikara of a bunch of people who do. We'll get podcast people. We'll do online. We can get Tony from our buddy from Luch Arcade. We'll get some of your friends that we challenge every week to answer our questions. We'll get some of my friends that I've been playing video games with for 2 decades. We'll see if Mark and the Off the Hop Rope guys want to play. It'll be great. We'll just get this massive 10-player tournament going on, or a single match. It's not even a tournament.
Let's do this, because this game looks like a shit ton of fun.
Oh man, yeah. I want to get into what we're talking about this week, but there's just like 3 more quick things that I want to talk about. Over 25 playable game modes are planned to be included. You got your traditional 1-on-1, tag team, 3-way match, 4-way match, 4 to 10 person elimination matches, tornado tag, battle royal, and the King of Trios tournament.
Wow.
Awesome.
So maybe the Off
cool.
the Hop Rope team will actually be in there because they were in that.
Hey, you never know. 700 handcrafted animations to perfectly capture the movement and antics that make Chikara a unique wrestling experience. That is so good. That's like on par with like AAA titles. Like, that's a lot of single animations for a team of 2 people to put together. That's insane.
I think this will be cool because this is kind of the first game that's not a mainstream title. It's an independent title, and it actually looks good. There are some out there that look like complete trash. Chikara looks amazing, and we know that Gakdos is going to look amazing.
Oh, yeah.
If there are any others out there, I would love to hear about them. If anyone out there knows them.
I don't know. Maybe we'll save this for bonus content. Speaking of bonus content, Twitter, @GameMarksPod. Please come and follow us on Twitter. When we hit 200 followers on Twitter, and we're not that far away, we will do a special bonus episode. But speaking of bonus episodes, I would really, really love, and I know I've mentioned this and I've probably beat this to death, to start looking into those mods for No Mercy. Like, I know that we haven't covered the game yet, but there are some really, really creative people. You and I have talked about them individually outside of the podcast, but AKI Evolution, Legends of Wrestling, there's
they're beautiful.
There's someone that's making an AEW port of just the AEW roster in No Mercy. I would love to not only play these games, but also talk to the people who created these games, because, little secret behind the scenes stuff that may be going on is that, you and I may be trying to make a little Game Marks game. You never know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what happens. But just to get some insight into what it goes into making a reskin of a game. It's hours and hours and hours of work, but some of these teams are only 1 to 2 people. So it's cool, and I would love to talk to them. So if you're listening and you would like to come on the Game Marks podcast and talk about your No Mercy mod, or whatever game that you're working on, if it relates to wrestling, if it doesn't relate to wrestling at all, if you're just a game developer and you want to talk to 2 schmucks from Long Island who have a podcast, let us know. We would love to hear from you.
We love guests, and we will take anyone.
We need friends of the show.
Desperately. Speaking of having someone on, they're a friend of mine and a fellow independent wrestler. I won't give his name yet. He actually creates a ton of content for 2K games, and I would love to know how he goes about it. Whoever he makes entire rosters of independents. They look legit. So I don't know if he uses reference shots, he asks them for reference shots, or I don't know what, but I would love to have him come on and just give his process and tell us how he does it.
That's crazy. Speaking of 2K20, we got some new screenshots. Some are better than others. but content is content, and I'm here for it.
I don't have much to say. I think I got a little rambunctious last week.
I think at this point, the only thing that's left to do is sit and wait. We both have the game pre-ordered. It'll be in our hands in a matter of weeks. And then we can really see what this game's all about. Screenshots are screenshots. Final product is final product. There's a lot of going back and forth on Twitter and just on the internet as a whole about the quality of this game versus the quality of other games. And honestly, at this point, we're so close to the wire that the only thing that's going to show us the quality of the game is the game itself. So I feel like from this point to the release of the game, we probably shouldn't be touching that much on it just because the only thing that we're really going to get is pictures. And I kind of want to have, that excitement. I don't want too much to be spoiled. I want to have that kid on Christmas getting a brand new video game and like have that new experience. If that makes sense. Am I crazy for wanting that?
No. I just opened NHL 20 out of the wrapper and I got that experience.
There's just something sad. So here's the thing that we don't talk about often, but it's something that's very prevalent. We may have touched on it once or twice, but the difference between actually owning the disc and a digital download. Have we talked about this?
I believe we have. I'm a disc guy. I don't know about you.
I am too. I enjoy the satisfaction of going to GameStop or Target or Walmart or wherever you're going to buy your game from.
Amazon. Free shipping.
And just having the tangible CD in your hand and getting the sensation of peeling off that cellophane wrapper
Okay,
and
but
hearing the...
Are you in on the EA Access? Do you know about EA Access?
I do not.
So it's $29.99 a year. A year, okay?
Okay.
You get every single version of the previous year's game. Free with the $29.99. So I got Madden 19, NHL 19, FIFA 19, the Star Wars games. You get Battlefield. You get the racing games. All for this $29.99. You just download UFC. I've been playing a lot of UFC. It's all included.
Huh.
And then when the new games come out, you get a 10% discount. So when Madden came out, they give you 10 hours free of the new game. So I didn't even buy it for like 2 weeks. When I downloaded it, I played through the 10 free hours. And then I purchased it. It was like, it's like still $50. But just so
In
happened.
case you're wondering what Johnny Clash does when we're done recording this podcast, he tells me, ooh, I could still go and play a game of Madden.
Yeah, even if it's midnight.
Yeah, that's what he does.
It just so happened NHL I got for my birthday, though, so it is in the wrapper.
Oh, man.
But the cool part, I have NHL 19.
That's not a bad price.
I have NHL 19, the disc. So now I could sell that, but I could still have the game.
That's the point that I was going to get to also, is that having the tangible discs gives you that option of either lending it out or trading it to someone or trading it in to get,
$3 at GameStop.
$6 to $7 at GameStop. But it's that option. Like it's your choice. It's your prerogative. Whatever you want to do with your game makes no sense. It's your choice.
I also tend to run out of space really fast on my PlayStation, and I haven't bought an external. I should probably get on that. So, speaking of, we have some gaming news.
Oh.
The PlayStation 5 was announced for holidays 2020.
Have you seen the pictures of this system?
Yes. It kind of looks like a DVD player with like a fan. I don't know how to describe it. Like a donut.
Holy.
It looks like a potty. Like a little kid's potty.
It looks like a futuristic... It looks like a toilet from the future.
I don't really care how it looks, though. I know I'm going to get it. It's PlayStation.
It looks like the flux capacitor of toilets.
Yes, it does.
Like, I feel like I'm going to go back to the future. Like, this thing's going to hit 88 miles an hour and just blast off.
Maybe. Modern technology. So,
hey.
The interesting fact, the controllers are not called DualShock, which we've had since PlayStation 1. Which means they might...
Do we have a name?
We don't, but that means we might be getting a new shape or configuration. I don't know. No one knows. And
Huh.
All I've seen is they might have a built-in microphone.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Maybe you could just use it with headphones. I don't know. Most headphones now come with microphones, so I'm not sure. But does this mean
know.
that a new Xbox is in the distance?
I don't know. I feel like is the one that different from the 360?
I don't own a one. I owned a 360 and I played the hell out of it.
Yeah, I'm PlayStation through and through, so this is all new to me.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll have to see what happens, but it's exciting. It's any gaming news is good news to me. There's nothing I'm always excited to see. I think competition is good.
Speaking of, a new player has entered the match. Have you heard of the Google Stadia?
I have.
It is launching November 19th this year.
So a little bit over a month from now.
For those who don't know, this is Google's console, basically. At launch, you'll be able to purchase their Founders Edition for $129.99. It includes a Chromecast Ultra, limited edition Night Blue controller, and 2 3-month Stadia Pro subscriptions. The Founders...
Now, have you seen the controller to this thing?
Have.
It almost looks like if the PlayStation controller and the Xbox controller had a baby.
It reminds me a lot of the original Xbox controller.
I just hope it's less loaf of bready. If that
get
makes
what
sense,
you mean.
You know what I'm talking
Yes,
about?
I do get what you mean.
It was just like bulky and weird. And there was no like contouring, and I think that's something that is alarming. Not alarming. Just it's a concern. Is that this looks very not? It's not as ergonomic as you would like a controller to be, I guess is the word. It just looks very flat. Like there's not a lot of contouring.
Yeah. Kind of like the NVIDIA Shield a little bit. Pretty similar.
I feel like the Shield controller looked like what you would expect a video game controller to look like. Like it had really sharp edges. It was really weird looking. Like
the controller emoji on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Just typical video game controller. Are you in on the Stadia? Well, to explain it further, it's pretty much...
I said, give me some more information and then I'll let you know where I sit afterwards.
The library has games up to 4K resolution, 60 frames per second, and HDR and 5.1 surround sound. After the first 3 months, the service costs $9.99 a month. You know, I'm sick of these $9.99 a month services for literally everything. It adds up.
Yeah.
Next year, Google plans to offer a Stadia base subscription that allows you to buy games individually and play them at 1080p and 60 frames per second. Games available with the launch will be Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Red Dead Redemption 2, Destiny 2, and Wolfenstein Youngblood. So they are using real, decent titles. So, I don't know. A cloud-based gaming console. It seems decent, but the subscription kind of gets me because, I already pay for Netflix, Hulu. I'm probably going to get Disney Plus for all the Marvel and Star Wars stuff. On top of Spotify and everything else. I don't feel like paying for another console that'll do exactly what mine does.
Steam also offers an alternative similar to the Stadia, where they have their whole set of hardware. They have the Steam Link. They have the collaboration with the HTC Vive. It offers a similar kind of experience. The Steam Link pretty much lets you hook it up to any TV, and as long as you have an internet connection, your entire Steam library is available on any TV.
That's cool. That's good to know for a new Steam user like me, even though I'm on a Mac and I don't have as...
And you know what? Most titles now, there are very few exceptions, but most AAA titles that come out on Steam are compatible for both Windows and Mac.
Okay.
There are some options that even let you run games on Raspberry Pi because it's an Android-based system. Mm-hmm. It's wild.
Cool.
So, yeah, thanks for giving us that overview of the Stadia. I got to tell you, before doing this, I didn't know much about it, but I'm kind of interested because it seems like it might be a decent competitor in terms of it's running AAA platforms, or it already has the ability to stream in 4K, which so many consoles took forever to get to. So we'll see what happens, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Competition is good.
Competition, exactly. All right, it is now time for the question of the week. And this week, the question of the week is sponsored by Cap TV.
Hello, it is I, the goatest of all time, Bobby Orlando. And I am here, in your ear, to tell you about Creative Pro Wrestling's weekly YouTube series, Cap TV. Featuring superstars such as the Cap TV champion, Chris Statlander, Burr Bronson, the abominable CPA, Smart Mark Sterling, Jack Tomlinson, Max Caster, Bryce Donovan, and myself, your mom, along with the rest of the Cap roster. Visit youtube.com/Creative Pro Wrestling and catch up on the weekly action today! Bish.
All right, so every episode on this podcast, we like to ask each other a question. We go back and forth each week. This week, it is Johnny's turn to ask a question. Let's hear it clash.
All right. So today, I'm sitting in my office thinking kind of about the new games, kind of about the Stadia, kind of like what we were talking about before about trading in games. On top of that, I just visited Canada, as I've mentioned earlier, and I went to Toys R Us. So my question to you is, judging by our past podcast, what we've talked about, if you were to bring back one store from the past, now I'm going to give you three options.
Okay.
KB Toys,
Ooh.
Funkoland,
Ooh.
or Blockbuster. What would you choose and why?
All right, so let's break this down. Funkoland was
As
bought
is.
out.
I don't want anything in it.
Okay, because I was gonna say Funkoland was bought out by a company that was bought out by a company that is now
No.
GameStop.
I'm
So
talking kind of like the beginning of Captain Marvel, how she goes into how they're in the 90s, how she goes into Blockbuster. I want everything as is when they closed.
Okay, so if you bring back a Blockbuster, you're bringing back like there's still some VHS, still some DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. So KB Toys, Funkoland, or Blockbuster. And we've talked about pretty much all three of these on the podcast about and how they have
They've shaped us.
ties to our childhood.
They've all
and have shaped us into the gamers and adults that we are today. Interesting. This is tougher than I thought it was going to be. I didn't think I was going to have such a hard time with this. I think I might have to go Blockbuster.
I think I was going that way too.
I feel like, so like Funkoland, there's an equivalent today. KB Toys, there's an equivalent today. Oh, but if you bring back KB Toys,
Yeah.
you're getting a lot of vintage figures.
Yeah, I want those in 1998 WCW figures that I bought on clearance when KB went out of business.
Ooh.
Scott Steiners and the crisp.
Yeah, you know what? I'm changing my answer. I'm going KB Toys because I want Star Wars figures. I want wrestling figures. They have all the retro consoles that you can buy, and everything was way cheaper back then.
Way cheaper.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go KB Toys, and I'm gonna buy an N64 for like $120.
Okay. I like it. I think I would choose Blockbuster just because even today, I was just thinking about the old times. I'm going to Blockbuster. When I finally got my own Blockbuster card, how life-changing it was. Probably still have it somewhere.
Oh, that'd be a good picture to post up on social
I
media.
specifically remember one night, rented Stay Alive. I rented Spider-Man 2, the video game.
Ooh.
And I got that giant bucket of popcorn that they sold.
Yep.
And that was my night. You know, Mountain Dew Code Red.
Simpler times.
Simpler
man.
times. The movie ended. My guys would text me, say, Gears of War in 10 minutes. We'd all hop on Gears of War. It's just simpler times. Now, I got a text at 9. It says, we're ready to record the podcast. It's George. My wife complains, and here we are. That's our question of the week. George, is it time to get into this week's game, Legends of Wrestling?
It is. But before we get into Legends of Wrestling for the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, the hashtag Deep Dive is sponsored by our friend Tony at Luch Arcade.
Have you ever wanted to go back and watch all the wrestling video games you remember growing up? Well, look no further than Luch Arcade to relive all the wrestling games past and present. Our friend Tony at Luch Arcade streams all of the games we loved and hated on Twitch every night. If you think our ratings are harsh, you should hear his. Tony has been collecting any and all wrestling games since 1998 and is sharing all of his hidden gems with his followers. Head on over to Twitch and find him at twitch.tv/Luch Arcade Live. That's LuchArcadelive. And on Twitter at Luch Arcade.
And man, do we love interacting with Tony on Twitter. He is super, super active and is always there with a quick comment and letting us know exactly how it feels about the games that we're playing this week and what he thought about them. So it's always good to interact with Tony.
And if you think I was harsh about 2K20 last week, just follow
really harsh.
Follow Tony for just one day.
Oh my God. So Legends of Wrestling.
Now, you never played this game before today, right?
No, this is brand new for me. Legends of Wrestling, published and designed by Acclaim, as I mentioned before, released on the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, and the GameCube. For those keeping track, today we played this on the PlayStation 2. It was released December 3rd, 2001 for the PlayStation, and on Xbox and GameCube, May 27th of 2002.
That's a good chunk of time in between.
Yeah. Now, did we find out why, or is it just, I guess, development issues? Maybe there were some licensing issues?
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I could imagine there were a ton of licensing issues in this game with all the characters involved.
Oh, yeah. This roster is absolutely stacked.
Now, I played this on Xbox, and to me, I probably didn't even know that it didn't come out at the same time as PS2. Because I think I just randomly saw it in the store one day and picked it up. I don't think I knew it was even coming out. And I said, oh, Hulk Hogan, Sabu, Rob Van Dam. Okay, Road Warriors, sure.
I'm pretty sure that I mentioned last week on the podcast that this was a game that I've never played and that I wanted to play. So I really looked forward to this roster. And it was one of those games that I always saw at GameStop and just for one reason or another never got around to doing it.
So the wrestlers in this game are from the WWF, WWE, NWA, WCW, WCCW, AWA, ECW, and various independent promotions. Now, I was a little confused when doing research for this game.
Yeah, so the internet says, and what our research is saying is very different from what's actually in the game.
So it's saying there's 12 different match types, including barbed wire, scaffold, ladder, tables, cage. Now, my memory was a little jumbled because I had all three of these games, so I wasn't sure what was what. I definitely didn't remember scaffold matches, and I didn't think that there was even a cage match in this first one. And now that we're playing it, there wasn't. There was only singles, tag, 3-way, 4-way, and of course the career mode.
And I've tried, I thought maybe he was talking about Showdown Legends of Wrestling. Maybe he was talking about Legends of WrestleMania. It's just not there. So we tried to figure out what other game maybe this was getting confused with, because there is Showdown Legends of Wrestling. There is WWE Legends of WrestleMania, but there's not one single game that has all of these features. So there's some that have some match types. There's some that have others, but nothing that is listed as everything that Clash just mentioned.
Yeah, there's definitely no scaffold match in Legends of Wrestling.
There's some discrepancy somewhere.
Showdown,
maybe some stuff got left on the cutting room floor, but
yeah, I know Showdown does have a cage match, a ladder match, I think a tables match, and possibly some more. I definitely remember the steel cage match, and I believe it's on the box art, but
Oh,
not in this game. So to see to see IGN, Wikipedia, all the pages that have descriptions for Legends of Wrestling say all this stuff, they might be talking about the broad, like the game title as a whole, all 3 games.
okay.
It's definitely incorrect for this first one.
It's so weird because going through all of the notes that we had, was very excited to see that you had all of these match options and then actually loading the game, 4 or 5 match types.
Yeah. I understand. They tried to keep it simple. It's a simple game with a simple old school feel to it. Simple graphics, simple everything. I actually saw
Simple.
I saw one comment on the game that said the characters look like action figures, and I kind of agree with that, which I'm not too upset with the graphics looking as bad as they do. Because if you compare it to the WWE games that were out at this time, or even TNA Impact, my lovely game, this doesn't even compare.
I mean, and we had mentioned last week that it was a dream of mine, or if you could combine other games, that having like a Hasbro wrestling style game, that would be kind of cool. And you kind of got that here.
So the career mode here, kind of unique, kind of different. I feel like a lot of younger generation fans that played this game wouldn't get it, because you do travel around the territories trying to work your way through the Northeast, the Southeast, the West, trying to get that old school NWA feel to the game.
Yeah, this is a nostalgia, but a different type of nostalgia. This is nostalgia for territory days, back before WWE was the giant force that it is today.
Yeah, and you're getting input from Jimmy Hart the whole way. There's really not much actual story from what I remember. There's a lot of special ref involvement in the game, and it doesn't make sense. Sometimes they'll just throw random wrestlers into your match, which was a cool feature when we played, because you could choose your ref. It could be anyone. It could be Hulk Hogan. It could be George the Animal Steel for no reason
that's
at
what
all.
We did George the Animal Steel, and almost kind of gave you. Did you do special ref matches in No Mercy?
I did, but it's kind of not what I chose. It would be if 2 of my friends wanted to play, I would jump in as the ref.
Yeah, so it almost gave me the kind of feeling of that. Like it was almost, you could hop in, you played versus the computer, and I was the ref, and I could either work in your favor or I could screw you.
Well, I certainly don't want you to screw me.
You heard it here on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news.
So new camera angles. They use more of a kind of old school broadcast type feel. A few cutscenes here and there for some big moves.
Some of the cuts were weird. It almost kind of gave me the feeling of World Tour, where the camera cuts kind of didn't make sense and kind of put you into weird perspective and weird places.
And rather than shooting you back to the regular camera angle, they kind of did that slow pan back.
Yeah, like looped around. It was very, very weird.
Yeah. I want to talk about the entrances real quick. Did you enjoy this feature?
Way more than I thought I would.
So rather than having a standard entrance you could watch, I guess those get boring after a while. As your wrestlers walking down the ramp, you're in charge of making them taunt and stop and pose. Gets a little excessive, I think. It takes a little too long.
I wish, what I almost wish they were? I wish they were like quick time events where you like got a countdown and you had to hit it at the right time and you got like some kind of bonus, that would be cool. Or something. That way, like, the entrance isn't just something you watch, it's something you do.
Right. Also, a lot of the wrestlers come out with managers, and that's not something you could choose. Like, Sabu came out with the original Sheik. Terry Funk came out with Dory Funk. And you can get them involved in the match. You can make them distract the ref.
Unlimited amount of times.
Also, you could use weapons and not get disqualified.
The weapons were cool. It was an interesting observation or realization that we could just kind of get away with it.
I always enjoyed just throwing a weapon at someone in a game. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, it's satisfying. And the animations, that's something you have to talk about. The animations of getting in the ring, getting out of the ring, and when you're hit with a weapon, we had the game glitch out a couple of times where I was height-wise in the ring, but very
You just
much
walked
not in the
straight
ring.
through the ropes, like they weren't even there.
Just hovering in the
I
air.
kind of remember that happening a lot when I was actually playing the game years ago.
Which is weird and unfortunate, but I guess makes sense because back in those days there weren't hot fixes. So even if they figured out what caused the bug and they wanted to fix it, you couldn't really send out a hot fix to a PlayStation 2 because they weren't online all the time.
Okay, so last week, unfortunately, you were stuck with the task of reading that big roster from 2K20 when we didn't even have to.
Yep.
Do you want me to take this one?
How about this? There's 42 wrestlers in this game. How about you do the first 22 and I will do the second 22?
Deal. So, the star-studded roster is Bret the Hitman Hart, Captain Lou Albano, Cowboy Bob Orton, David Von Erich, Don Morocco, Dory Funk Jr., Dynamite Kid, Flying Brian Pillman, Fritz Von Erich, George the Animal Steel, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Harley Race, Hot Stuff, Eddie Gilbert, Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik, Ivan Koloff, Ivan Putski, Jerry the King Lawler, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Kerry Von Erich, Kevin Von Erich, King Kong Bundy, and you take it from here.
Okay, so now you have Coco Beware, Michael Von Erich, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, Mr. Fuji, Mr. USA Tony Atlas, Nikolai Volkov, One Man Gang, Rick Martel, Ricky Morton, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Road Warrior Animal, Road Warrior Hawk, Rod Van Dam, Robert Gibson, Sabu, The Sheik, Superstar Billy Graham, Ted DiBiase, Terry Funk, and Tito Santana.
This is a pretty damn good roster, and I will say Legends 2 and Showdown Legends of Wrestling, it gets even better.
Here's my only question about this roster.
I know exactly what you're going to ask me.
Why do you have 40 absolute legends and then Sabu and RVD?
Do you think they're not legends?
I don't think they fit in with this roster. Like,
I think at this time they were not contracted and they said, wow, we could grab these guys, let's grab them.
yeah,
And
I could see that being the reason.
I mean, having RVD in the game was probably one of the selling points for at least me buying it, and probably people my age like, oh, okay, I know these guys.
but like, there's no Ultimate Warrior, there's no Big Boss Man, there's no Natural Disasters.
Yeah, actually last week I said Sting was in Legends of Wrestling 2. He actually debuts in Legends of Wrestling, the Showdown Legends of Wrestling. He's on the cover with Ultimate Warrior and Jake the Snake, Andre. So they really put a lot into making this game even bigger as it went on, which I'm excited to play Showdown.
Another game I never played.
Series is just pretty sweet. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, it's weird. So like, I know we have to give our rating, but whether I like the game or not, if this makes any sense, I'm just glad that we got to play it.
Oh, of course.
That way I can say that I've given it a fair shot, and like, I know that my rating is how I feel from actually playing it. It's not just, this is a game from 1993. The graphics suck. The gameplay I've heard is bad. I don't even want to try it. Like, we know we never played Saturday Night Slam Masters before we played that episode. We know firsthand experience whether or not we like that game because we played it. So it's nice to be able to go back and play the games that we haven't played, which is the whole point of this podcast. We've come full circle. We're self-aware, Clash.
So on top of these 42 wrestlers, you also have the option to create your own wrestler.
They give you, 4 or 5 slots?
Right, and they're very, very old school looking, what you could create, like the hairstyles and everything. I understand that. I always tried to create, a version of myself as a wrestler back then, or something similar. Maybe I would try to create Steve Borden, because they didn't have the exact Sting face paint.
They do have a Mankind mask.
And that's weird, because that was designed specifically for Mick Foley.
Yeah, but, it was one of those things where it's a staple, and
I could see if there's maybe like a Hannibal Lecter mask or something. Kind of closer to that, but
I mean, it's not like a 1-for-1, but it's close enough, and I'm pretty sure the name of the mask is like Psycho or Crazy or something like that.
Yeah, of course. Not Wrestler number 3 mask.
Yeah. There is a feature with the creative suite, I guess, the creative character mode, that was a nice change, I guess, from how they do it in the modern like the 2K games or just games from the last decade. When you hover over the item that you want to pick, you see it instantly. There's not like a crazy loading time. So if you want to know what kind of gloves you're going to put on, you move down to that style of glove. It's there like that. Like it's ready to go, which I guess was nice. It's like instant gratification if you want to see what a mask looks like or what a shirt looks like.
Okay. And like we said, this was made by Acclaim. So this kind of feels like it was a newer era of wrestling video games, I guess because it was on PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. But Hardcore Revolution and Anarchy Rules only came out a year before this game on PlayStation 1. And those are the last Acclaim titles before Legends came out. Legends 2 came out in 2002, Showdown came out in 2004. So Showdown and Legends 2 came out 2 years apart. Showdown was Acclaim's last wrestling title.
Interesting. And then what's Acclaim doing now? They're out of business, right?
Well, in August 2005, former Activision executive Howard Marks purchased the name Acclaim for only $100,000. That's not the rights to Acclaim and like the Acclaim games. It's just the name. The name, right. And in October of 2018, which was not too long ago, Liquid Media Group purchased 65 ex-Acclaim titles from Throwback for $1 million.
Now that's a number that makes more sense.
Yeah, and they basically bought NBA Jam, AFL Live, All-Star Baseball, NFL Quarterback Club, and, nothing like super crazy.
I mean, NBA Jam is a phenomenal game.
Oh, yeah. Here's a fun fact while I'm looking this up. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen sued Acclaim over unpaid royalties. Was there a game?
Oh yeah, Mary-Kate and Ashley had like 1 million games. I don't know which one Acclaim made.
Really?
But they had 1 million games.
Oh yeah, look at that. Acclaim made a ton of their PlayStation games. Crush Course, Magical Mystery Mall.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one of my cousins
16.
had one of the games.
Yeah, my cousin, Winner Circle, Get a Clue, Pocket Planner. Oh my god, these Olsen twins pixelated Game Boy graphics.
Oh, they're horrifying.
Yeah.
In the last
kind of like The
iteration,
Sims, but really horrible.
In the last iteration of the BMX series, BMX XXX, semi-nude and nude pornographic content. Example, full motion videos of strippers and nude female riders was added to hopes of boosting sales. However, like most of Acclaim's video games during its final years, BMX XXX sold poorly and was derailed for its sexual content and poor gameplay.
I remember the commercials for this game.
Wait, Dave Mirra himself publicly disowned the game, stating that he was not involved in the decision to include nudity, and he sued Acclaim for fear of being associated with the game.
Rightfully so. I mean, you're going to put BMX in a title, you're going to assume...
Those Dave Mirra games were so good.
Yeah, you're going to assume it's like a derivative of those, not like a naked chick on a bike.
Yeah.
Which these
the other one?
Screenshots are hilarious. Anyway, we are getting way off track here.
Yeah.
It is way past my bedtime. I have 6 games of Madden left in my season. Let's get to the reception of the game.
Oh, yes. Take us through
Your favorite part.
Take us through it.
The Cincinnati Enquirer gave the PS2 version a score of 4 stars out of 5 and said that its characters have an exaggerated action figure look, but they move smoothly and they have a robust collection of moves. So that's where I read about the action figure look.
Okay.
BBC Sport gave the PS2 version a 56%, stating when you press a button to pull off a move, there's far too long a wait for any action.
Oh, yeah.
And the game actually builds up a queue, which can mean you are waiting for moves to happen before you can continue. Agreed.
Yes,
Very much agreed.
Yes, 100%. Experienced that multiple times.
We actually never even figured out how to do a finisher in this game.
You think you did it one time?
I think I did it. But no matter how many times I looked it up, whether it was IGN or CheatCC, I just couldn't find the right moveset.
Yeah, it's just was not very intuitive. It wasn't a simple thing to figure out, which is weird because I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's a complicated game. The controls by no means felt like they were super complicated, but for some reason, getting the finishes to happen was like almost impossible.
Yeah, very, very complicated game.
And you'll figure out why it was so frustrating when you hear the match that we did for Clash of the Feasts, because you know what the finishers should be, and we just could not get them to work.
Right. So here's the last reception, which is an interesting one. Playboy magazine gave the same version of PS2 a score of 60% and said, unless you're desperate to see Captain Lou Albano in action, again, who isn't, scant reason for a purchase presents itself, which I don't know why they can't just say, don't buy this.
Yeah.
Casual wrestling fans can pass. So, one, this is hilarious that Playboy is actually reviewing a game. Two,
Throwing shade at Captain Lou?
throwing shade at Captain Lou. Man.
How dare you?
But I do agree. Casual wrestling fans could probably pass on this game.
Yeah. This is pretty much only for like the diehards, or if you grew up watching,
And if you did grow up watching this era of wrestling, chances are you won't be able to figure out this game.
Yeah, you're not probably playing video games if you grew up watching this.
So are you ready for the ratings? Because there's quite a bunch of them.
Take us through these numbers.
Okay. Whew.
Oh, I mean, wow. I think there's more ratings than there are people on the roster.
It's possible. So, all games, 2 out of 5 stars on PS2. EGM, 7.17 out of 10 on PS2. That's just annoying. That's obnoxious. Just make it 7 point something else.
Yeah.
Round the number up. Game Informer gave it a 7 out of 10 on GameCube, a 6.25 out of 10 on PS2. See, that's like a normal number.
Yeah.
7 out of 10 on Xbox. So the PS2 version actually got less on that one.
Huh.
Game Revolution gave it a C for the PS2. Game Pro gave it 2 out of 5 stars on PS2. GameSpot, 5.3 out of 10 on all platforms. GameZone, rest in peace, 7 out of 10 on GameCube and PS2. 7.5 out of 10 on Xbox. IGN. IGN's always a little harsh.
Yeah.
5.4 on the GameCube, 4.9 on the PlayStation, and 7 out of 10 on Xbox. So Xbox got the higher one there, PlayStation got the least, less than half. Nintendo Power gave it a 2.6 out of 5 on the GameCube, OPM 2.5 out of 5 on the PS2, BBC gave it a 56% on the PS2, Cincinnati Enquirer, like we said before, 4 out of 5 on the PS2, and Metacritic 50 out of 100 on GameCube, 55 out of 100 on PS2, 65 out of 100 on Xbox. So most of these only rated the PS2 version, which I could only assume because it came out first, and they didn't bother to touch on the Xbox or GameCube.
Well, I would imagine that unless there are glaring differences between each version, you probably wouldn't need to go back and play on the other consoles just because there's not substantial differences. It's just, a
But
port.
some of these are substantial. Like, why did IGN give the GameCube a 5.4, PlayStation 4.9, and Xbox a 7?
Maybe it's just because of gaming preference. Maybe maybe the port ran better. It also depends on what these were originally built for.
I would assume it is the technical side of things.
Yeah, I would assume that most of these games were probably built for one console and then ported to the other one. So judging by, going back to the facts and seeing that the game was first released on the PlayStation, it would make you believe that it was a PlayStation built game and then it was ported to the Xbox and then ported to the GameCube. And sometimes, if you look at IGN, apparently the Xbox port was better than the PS2 version, which is weird because usually ports are comparable or worse, usually not better.
I'll say I played this on Xbox growing up and playing it today on PS2. I didn't notice a difference, but I also haven't played this game in 15 years, so...
Yeah. Well, that's very, very interesting and definitely something to think about. Especially, it's so weird because you look at IGN rated all 3, and then you look at Metacritic, and they're such vastly different. Metacritic is fairly even. 50, 55, 65. Like, that's not a vast difference. But IGN is 5.4, 4.9, and then 7? It's
just weird to me. I would love to reach out to someone and find out, but I'm sure at this point they don't even remember this game.
Yeah. But that means it is now time for us to talk about the Clash at the Feast. So this week, there was no vote, there was no poll, mainly because of the events of last week. There was not enough time between Clash's birthday, my wedding. So we kind of just picked our own match and we played through the game, get warmed up a little bit, got into the zone, and then we agreed that it was time for the Clash at the Feast match. And why don't you take us through that this week, Clash?
So like we said, you could choose a special referee each match. So we decided, let's give good old Mr. Fuji a shot at refereeing.
And gave him the rub.
So he was our ref. You picked Mr. Monday Night, Rob Van Dam. So naturally, I picked Sabu. The two that we said didn't belong in the game ended up being our Clash at the Feast.
I think we really just want to play the ECW game, so we're itching for it.
Yeah, and I gotta say, some of these theme songs are terrible. Like Hulk Hogan sounds nothing like Hulk Hogan. I get they can't use the actual licensed music. I believe Jimmy Hart actually did most of the soundtrack.
Oh.
But RVD's sounds pretty much like Pantera Walk, and Sabu's was almost spot on, if not the theme song.
Yeah, it's wasn't bad. Like, none of the music was bad. It just wasn't what you would expect.
Which, speaking of, during the gameplay, there's no commentary and it's just music.
Yeah.
You come out with a manager, so Sabu came out with Sheik.
And
RVD
I came out
with no
alone.
one. There's no Bill Alfonso in this game.
That's what I wanted. I was really hoping it would just be like, didn't have to be someone that was playable on the roster. Just...
So, 10 spinning heel kicks later, 6 diving wheel kicks later,
and not a single finisher had.
Trash cans thrown, bats thrown,
2x4s
thrown, tiger drivers nailed.
Oh man, just
your
the weirdest underhook pile driver.
After all of that, your winner of round 10 of Clash at the Feast, and evening up the score, George Tellum,
Johnny, Legends of Wrestling himself, Clash. Yeah, I gotta say, this was probably the closest match that we've had. I feel like a lot of the other ones were one-sided, where if you won by a substantial amount, and if I won, it was usually because I snuck in and stole it from you at the last minute. But this was pretty even throughout. It wasn't like someone had a dominant playthrough and then stole a victory or just walked away with it. This was, I got some good shots. You got some good shots. They actually, Sabu and RVD, for some odd reason, have similar movesets. We still couldn't hit a finisher. I would have loved to see a 5-star frog splash, but yeah, you ended up taking it this week. I can't even say I'm mad.
You actually led for the beginning of this game until I realized that jumping spin kick was like a fatality in Mortal Kombat and just knocked you on your ass every single time.
And I only was able to block one of them, which, is frustrating, but I understand it happens.
It's okay. And I think a wheel kick was the finish where I pinned you.
Was it a wheel kick? Was it a drop kick? All I know is that you were
something weak
in the ring. I was out of the ring. I ran in and you hit me with some kind of kick, and that was it. It was 1, 2, 3. It was over.
I snuck out the victory, and we are now tied 5-5.
Well,
I feel like I've been saying this since the first round. I feel like we need an end. I feel like we need something definitive. I don't know if that'll culminate at a bonus episode, a live show, We have to come up with something.
You know what?
Championship belt.
You know what I would like to do? I would say this. So we should agree on a game that was a staple and a favorite of ours as kids. Number 1, all time. I have a feeling I know what that game is, but I think we should take that game, wait for us to have either our first live event or to be on a live event, and that will be the end.
Yeah, it's got to be something like that. And I'm totally down to beat you in front of, an audience or more people.
So, you won Clash at the Feast with a ridiculous move. It was a weird finish. But after playing this game and talking about it for the better part of an hour and 15 minutes or so, where do you stand? Are you gonna play it forever or future endeavor?
This is tough. This is tough because this is a game I played a lot. I very much looked forward to today's episode so I could replay it.
That's good. I'm glad.
Unfortunately, I don't think it lived up to my memories. Maybe my mind's
case
just
of
now,
nostalgia goggles.
Yeah, maybe my mind's just now more formatted towards the newer games.
Okay.
How good they look, how good they play. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to say future endeavor.
Okay, but
just
I feel
because
like your
I know
reasoning is good.
I also know that I enjoyed Legends 2 and Showdown a lot more. So I think once I play those, I'll be able to get a better understanding of why I'm future endeavoring this.
Okay, that makes sense. I totally get why you feel that way.
And what about you? Since you've never played this game before.
So, the game, concept-wise, is really, really cool. Like a stacked roster of a ton of legends with, I'm assuming with Legends 2, it's even a more robust roster with legends from our childhood going back to the days of the 70s and 80s. I think it's tough because it was fun, but I'm trying not to make it so that because I played the game with you and because, doing this podcast is fun, that affects my rating of the game. I think I'm going to have to future endeavor this game based on the one and only, it's not even a flaw, but just that waiting time that we talked about, where is it?
The moves just weren't fluid.
Yeah, BBC Sports talked about it, where that you have to wait for, a second or two before your move happens. It kind of takes you out of the moment because we'd be going back and forth. There'd be a lot of kicks and ridiculous moves and chair shots and throwing trash cans. And then it'd be like, okay, I'm going to grapple you. All right, and now the move's happening. It just took you out of that.
No animations on the grapples either. We just kind of stood there holding each other. It's cute.
I'm hoping it was almost like a 8th grade dance where it's just like, all right, leave room. I need to see space in between you guys.
That's exactly what it was.
I'm hoping that in Legends 2, a lot of this gets fixed, and I know that it's a much more expansive roster. So I'm hoping the controls are better, the animations are better. Obviously, the roster is bigger, and maybe that'll be the thing that we do from now on. We just split reading the roster in half. That way it doesn't fall on one person. I'm optimistic for Legends 2. And that's it.
Okay. So we both agree, future endeavor.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out, in 2009, WWE came out with Legends of WrestleMania, which was basically SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, but with an all Legends roster. It wasn't as big as these games, but it had kind of the same feel, but it felt better because you could actually use the arenas, the names, the announcers.
Okay.
And another cool feature of that, which I never knew, and hopefully we could play this sometime soon, but you could actually import the wrestlers and the created wrestlers from SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 into Legends of WrestleMania.
Wait. Like the full roster or just creative wrestlers?
No, there's a good amount of, like, you could Zack Ryder, Finlay, Snitsky, Shelton, Kofi.
Friend of the show, Zack Ryder?
Friend of the show, Zack Ryder, can
Oh,
be imported
man.
with Jimmy Wang Yang into this game.
Wow, that's insane. I actually kind of like that idea a lot.
Yeah, I've never played this, so I guess you could kind of count that as the same type of game, but
Yeah.
rather than territories, they said, you know what, we're just going to put our stuff in here because that's what they do.
Interesting stuff.
Anyway, George, I'm ready for bed. Madden is calling me.
Of course.
Do you want to tell them what we were playing next week on October 28th on our special Halloween episode?
We are playing Clash's all-time favorite. Can't stop talking about this freaking game since we started doing this podcast.
Not Impact.
WCW Mayhem. But the stipulation is that all matches must be played at the Halloween Havoc Arena.
And I think we should put up the vote for some of the more popular Halloween Havoc matches.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Now, this is a game that you've played. This is a game that is something that you are well versed in in your childhood, and a game that I have never played. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, it's not a repeat of this week.
I'll tell you now, Square is to do a finisher.
Okay,
We're already ahead of the curve from
Yeah.
Legends.
Now the animation's a little more fluid. Is it like a?
Well,
I guess we'll have to wait and see. That does it for us this week on the Game Marks podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Game Marks Pod. Leave us a review and a rating on iTunes, and subscribe to us wherever great podcasts can be found. When we hit 200 followers on Twitter, we'll be releasing a special bonus episode featuring exclusive content that you won't be able to find in a regular episode, so please help us in reaching that new milestone. I am George Feast. He is Johnny Clash, and we are out of time. So as always, Clash, say something stupid.
What a rush.